Autoscrollers are usually boring and slow sections some speedruns have to go through since there's no way around it. Although some autoscrollers can be finished earlier than usually or skipped completely. Then speedrunners often refer to an autoscroller skip. Celeste doesn't have any traditional autoscrollers, but it has in total 3 different rooms that require a slow moving block in order to complete the room, giving those blocks the name autoscroller blocks. Since you can do a lot with movement in Celeste, speedrunners have figured out multiple ways of doing these rooms faster than the original casual strat. Some use the block, others skip the block completely. After I talked in my last video about the first autoscroller and its evolution of skips and strats, you should probably watch that video first since it's part 1 of this video series and covers a lot of basic info. I want to break down the second autoscroller in Celeste any % in this video and how it went from the slowest but easiest and most basic autoscroller room to probably the hardest strat/skip in the entire Celeste speedrun, or the game at all. Let's get ready with the video. Hello everybody, my name is Slash177 and I create all kinds of speedrun content here on YouTube with explained videos like this one, multiple tutorials for Celeste, or videos where I just talk about general speedrun topics and advice on how to improve your gameplay or mindset around speedrunning. If those sound interesting to you, make sure to check out my channel and subscribe so you won't miss speedrun explained videos such as this one in the future. Without losing much more time, let's go all the way back to the beginning of Celeste speedruns. The second autoscroller room can be found in the later half of chapter 4. In the first 3 to 4 months, it was very common to play this room like you do in a casual playthrough. But after a little while, people got more familiar with the game and started to implement speedrun movement such as hyperdashes into their gameplay. This room didn't get a lot faster with hyperdashes, since 90% of the time we spend here we need to wait for the moving block anyways to reach the end of the room. Although people soon realized that they can hyperdash off the block near the end to reach the next room faster than usually. And with that, the first speedrun strat of this room was born. Depending on how exactly you execute this entire strat, you can beat the room around a second faster than the casual strat shown earlier. You can even hyperdash off the block without ever collecting the coin to move the coin block. That doesn't make really a difference since collecting the coin doesn't lose time due to the fact that we have to wait for the block anyways. But it looks more impressive, I think. Moving from this, in the little bit more advanced region of strats, we have the ultra dash with block method, or however you should name this one. This method is not too difficult despite using an ultra dash, but it is also not a whole lot faster than the hyperdash method. So that's why this strat is a little underused in mid-level to high level. We need to do 2 things in order to make this strat work. First, we need to move the block to the lowest point possible in order to avoid obstacles later. And the second adjustment we have to make is we wait on the left side of this platform rather than dashing off the moving block directly. From this platform, we execute the extended hyperdash into an ultra dash. The only thing we now need to worry about is the moving block being in the right position and executing the ultra dash correctly. When we arrive with the ultra dash on the block, it should be around this area. The most important part is that Madeline can jump off the block with ultra speed without hitting this wall or bonking her head on its ceiling. If she hits the wall in any way, the strat will most likely fail, since we either get stuck on the wall and lose our speed, or the jump will be interrupted by the ceiling. My visual cue for when I start the extended hyperdash is when the block is about to cross the right corner of this platform. If everything is done correctly, the block ends up around here and you will gain enough speed from the ultra dash and the moving block momentum that you can clear the entire distance up to the rightmost wall. Once again, depending on how well you execute the strat, with keeping your momentum and doing a wall bounce at the end, you can save up around 0.5 seconds or a little more compared to the hyperdash method from earlier. I know a single 0.5 second time save may sound like nothing to you, but those small time saves add up really quickly and are important to reach the higher levels of Celeste speedrunning, such as sub 30 and lower. By the way, me and TGH talked about why small time saves matter in my recent podcast episode with him. If you want to give it a try, I will link to the episode in the description. Before I talk about the last and most absurd method that is used by humans in individual level speedruns or as a YOLO strat in full runs, I want to talk about a few weird discoveries and the task methods, since I know people like to get the task explained. First, the old task method was quite an interesting one, since it doesn't really use momentum keeping and corner boosts, which are extremely common in the Celeste task nowadays. Instead, it uses all kinds of neutral jumps and corner kicks, which look like spike jumps, to get around this coin block.
Yesterday, Devil.
Yo.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yes. Oh yeah, that's a pretty cool one too. Yeah.
That is so hard.
But back to the task method, a runner called Moglar did discover this strat within a month after the game's release. The problem with this strat is that 2 of the 3 jumps off the spike block are setup-less spike jumps. But honestly, I don't want to get too much into this method in order to avoid confusion. Just know this method is insanely hard for too little reward. But it looks cool, doesn't it? It also was never really used by any human in any speedrun, since, yeah, it is too difficult. The modern and faster task is looking much more impressive than the old one. If we slow down the footage, we actually realize what is going on. First, it starts with a reverse dash jump, straight dashing into the wall, then turning around to gain the speed from the dash jump and the momentum from the moving block. After the dash jump, an immediate ultra dash happens, which makes Madeline faster, jumping off the ground into the next block for a corner boost, which gives Madeline even more speed. Corner boosts are climb jumps around the top of a corner. It often looks like Madeline is just gliding around the obstacle. This technique gives minor speed boosts and doesn't slow down at all. The progress repeats. After the corner boost, another ultra dash happens. Ultra dashes, if executed correctly, also do have the advantage that they only make you faster and preserve already existing momentum. After this ultra dash, another corner boost happens off this small wall. Don't worry, the sprite hitbox is much smaller than the visual representation right here. Followed by a few bunny hops, which also have the advantage that if executed correctly, you don't lose speed. Again, you see the Celeste task is all about losing as little speed as possible. Normally, Madeline is losing speed while in the air or on the ground, but the moment Madeline jumps, she always gets a small speed boost, similar to the concept of a corner boost. So if we bunny hop optimally and often, we don't really lose speed or we lose less speed than usual. From here on now, the last corner boost is going to happen through this small gap. Jumping through here isn't really the difficult part, more so getting the corner boost is the precise part. Hope that little breakdown was not too much. I just really enjoy explaining those things to its detail. Both you and me are always learning something here. As an example, I didn't know before this recording how exactly bunny hops work. Now I do, and I hope you do too. Quick post-production announcement, I had to re-record the next voice line because it was missing somehow, so please don't wonder about the voice change. I know it may sound weird. This task method is totally not human viable. The precision needed to perform all 3 corner boosts is already insane enough, since corner boosts have a 3 pixel window to be performed in. On top of that is all the momentum keeping with the bunny hops and the ultra dashes, which is also quite precise for a human. So moving to a more human viable way of doing this room, which is completely skipping the vlog and saving a ton of time. But also, it is probably one of the hardest threats in the entire game. So let's take a look. Why is this method human doable but far more difficult than anything else in the game? First of all, let me explain what the strat is actually doing. It starts with a hyper dash off this platform into an immediate ultra dash. The speed we gain with this allows us to abuse a technique called coyote jump. A coyote jump, if you didn't watch my first video of the series, is a jump that is performed off the air. Since the first 5 frames after leaving the ground, Madeline is still able to jump. Because of the speed we have at this point, from the hyperdash into the ultra dash, we can cover quite the distance in these 5 frames, and it is really important that we jump as late as possible to make this trick easier or doable at all. After the coyote jump, we need to hold jump a specific amount of frames. Referring to runners such as Plush, this jump is close to frame perfect. The correct jump angle is shown by the orange line. If we hold down jump too long, we end up in the spikes, and too short, we end up too low to perform the corner boost. Also, in this next graph, you can see why jumping as late as possible makes this trick easier / doable. Jumping too early wouldn't allow for such a precise jump. We would basically always over or undershoot the corner. The corner boost is equally precise as the coyote jump. It is only a 3 pixel window, so our position on the previous hyperdash and ultra dash needs to be on point. At the point of the ultra dash, we travel 5 pixels per frame. With this, we only get 1 frame in which we can hit the 3 pixel window, and we can't hit it every time actually. Thus, the previous position needs to be good enough that we hit this 3 pixel window of the corner boost. That doesn't mean that the input for a corner boost is frame perfect. We can still buffer jump and ultimately buffer the corner boost in a 4 frame window, but the corner boost itself is only able to be performed in 1 frame, which, makes this trick in general just very precise. But the input itself is not frame perfect. Quick reminder, this game is running at 60 FPS, and as you see how fast everything is happening in this game and how precise it has to be, this trick is extremely hard to pull off. I personally wonder at which point this threat is getting completely implemented to be normal in a world record attempt, since the amount of precision requires you to react in a few frames to the given situation and your position in order to pull off this trick consistently. This so-called micro-reaction, as Plush names it, is the hardest part about this skip in his opinion, and from just hearing about it I kinda have to agree with him. Although with only 5 seconds on the room timer, this threat is around 6 seconds faster than the previous shown Ultra threat, which makes it quite the attractive time save, but as I said, this trick is really difficult and none of the top runners, except for maybe Bye-Bye, are consistently attempting this trick in their full runs. If you now enjoyed the video, please consider leaving a like to support me and my channel, or subscribe so you won't miss other videos like this one in the future. You can also follow me on Twitter to never miss any of my content that goes online. I have now less followers on Twitter than subscribers on YouTube, so if you could follow me there, that would make me really happy. See you next week with hopefully the last part of this video series. Till then, happy speedrunning.